Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Cruz and welcome back to another video. In this one, we're finally going to discuss how I used 2 amps on the Line 6 HX STOMP. Before we get started, please do not forget to like this video, comment and subscribe below, and be sure to hit the bell icon so you get an alert every single time I upload a video. Without further ado, let's get started. So this video might just wrap up the whole how I use it series when it comes to the HX STOMP, at least when it comes to my bass tone, the sound that I'm known for here on this channel. As I've been promising throughout all the videos that I'm going to get to it. Well, I've delivered on that. I've talked about reverbs, I'll link that up here. I've talked about delays, I'll link that up here as well. I've talked about the different various drives that I have. In fact, I'll create a playlist so that you can go through all of the videos that I've recently uploaded in regards to how I'm using the HX STOMP in conjunction with the rest of my pedal board. Today we're going to tackle something that I've been promising for a long time, and that is how I basically set up 2 amps going into 1 IR, and then how I apply a 10-band EQ to tie it all together. Now, before we really dive into this thing, I want you to understand something. I'm not following any kind of a blueprint. See, this was a happy accident. I was just trying to figure out how I can get the most out of this product, and as I was just filtering through the various amps and the various options, I thought, oh, what would it be like if I just added 2 amps? It wasn't anything really well thought out. I happened to stumble upon using these 2 combinations of amps and really fell in love with it. So it's not that I'm trying to recreate a live rig that I have, because to be honest with you, I've never really done the whole stereo rig too much, especially when I played out live. And in fact, I've always preferred going out mono all the time, specifically when I played out live. I just felt like it was an overall easier setup, and for me, when I would try to travel with a stereo style rig, it would just really turn into a mess, to be perfectly honest with you. So I've always preferred a mono sound, and then sometimes I would do the occasional split signal, which is basically mono, just using 2 different amps, not necessarily using 2 amps in stereo. So that's a different kind of a setup, and I've always enjoyed that, but I wasn't really thinking about that when I was attempting to create a sound here using the HX STOMP. I was just trying everything. This setup is what got me closer to that normal amp in the room sound that I was craving when I switched over to digital amping. So now let's talk about how I've set up everything. I want you to first take note of the main left and right signal. I'm treating this thing like it's a stereo rig in the beginning, but I'm actually going to end up going mono, full disclosure. But we're going to split our signal. We're going to go on the left side. We're going to input Line 6's A30 Fawn. Now let's be real, this is clearly emulating some sort of AC30, some sort of Vox style amp, or some vintage tones, which is great for me. I've always enjoyed that sound. I've fallen in love with it later on in my career, more so than earlier on in my career, but I really think that I was playing too much of a modern day Vox style amp when I got to play some of the more vintage ones and realized that they had this really strong mid-range presence. I fell in love with them, so I've been using them ever since I switched over, especially to the digital amping stuff, because I feel like that's one of the amps that a lot of modelers end up nailing. So that's what I've inputted here. I have the drive set at 4.2. I have the bass at 2.0, the cut completely off at 0, the treble at 4.2, the presence all the way up at 10, the channel volume, I have it at 6, so it's boosting a little bit, the master, again, 8.5, a little bit of a boost, the sag, I left it at 5, the hum at 5, the ripple at 5, the bias at 6.3, and the bias X at 5.0. Now, I'm not going to really play for you what each amp sounds like individually. I don't think that that's really going to matter. I want you to hear the end result ultimately. So let's move on to now the right signal and how I got that amp set up. On the right side, I'm using the Line 6 Tweed Blues amp. Again, this is probably emulating some sort of Fender-esque type of a sound, which you guys know is right up my alley. Let's talk about the settings that I got going on here. At the drive, we have it at 1.5. The bass at 1.7, the mids at 7.8, boosting it quite a bit, the treble at 6.5, the presence at 6.4, the channel volume at 7, the master all the way up at 10, the sag at 5, the hum at 5, the ripple at 5, the bias at 5.7, and the bias X at 5.0. I have both of those amps now coming together back to that mono signal after that, so I'm not keeping it in stereo, and I'm going to bring them back mono to go into 1 IR. And I talked about the IR already. I'll link the video right up here. I'm using the Live Ready Sound IR. More specifically, it's the LRS M2 ATP 121Z03. I don't know, but That's what it is. So my left and right signal go back into mono and go into 1 IR, and that's what helps me get that sound. Then from there I go into the very next step here, which I believe is one of the most important parts, and that is the 10-band EQ. The reason I like doing this is because when you profile an amp, whether you're a Kemper user or if you are using an amp modeler like what you see with the HX STOMP or the HX series of effects, line 6 stuff, maybe even some of the fractal stuff, those are modelers, a little bit different from profilers, right? But either way, when you are modeling an amp or profiling an amp, you are doing so at wherever that amp is set for that moment, right? So you can alter the EQ just a little bit, you can alter drive a little bit, but it's going to get to the point where you're altering it to in a digital way. So you don't want to alter it too much, specifically the EQ. So if there's some stuff that you need to tone shape in the back end, I highly recommend using a 10-band EQ. And if you're a studio person, then you sort of get this concept, right? This is what you would do after all of your tracks are done anyway. You maybe would throw a back end EQ on there, maybe some compression, maybe some gates, some limiters, whatever it is that you need to do to fix that track or to enhance that track. In fact, I apply that concept all the way through. As you can see, after my amps, my cabinet, and then my EQ, then I input delays or reverbs. That's intentional. That's because I want to make sure that that's the cleanest sound possible. It's how I would do it in the studio, so therefore that's how I want to do it now because I have the ability to do so. So my live rig gets to sound just as good as my studio rig. Let's jump back into it. Let's talk about how I have the EQ set up. I'm going to try my best to read this as it is. I don't necessarily get all of these numbers. I literally just use my ears to tone shape this thing. So don't judge me if I don't say something completely right. But we're going to start off left to right here. So it's the 31.25 HZ. I have that at negative 1.8 dB. The 62.5, I have it at negative 1.7. The 125, I have it at plus 0.4. The 250, I have it at negative 7.6. The 500, I have it at positive 5.8. The 1, I have it at plus 2.8. The 2, I have it at plus 0.4. The 4, I have it at plus 1.8. The 8, I have it at plus 0.3. The 16, I have it at 1.6. And the level overall at plus 2.0. That's a lot of numbers, and I hope you could follow everything that I have on the screen for you. And that's why I left a picture up there the whole time that I was reading it out, so that you could pause it and just copy it. Because I'm probably not giving you these settings very intellectually, but the picture should give you enough information. But now, after all of that said, let's hear what these things actually sound like. 2 amps going into 1 IR with the 10-band EQ on. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I wasn't looking to incorporate 2 amps into my rig. I simply was looking for a tone that was going to be pleasing and suitable to my ears. So I highly recommend that if you're going digital, if you're using products like the HX STOMP or any other digital product, that you don't traditionally approach this thing. You want to approach it with an open mind, just basically saying, hey, whatever the product allows me to do, I'm going to try it out and see what gets me the closest tone that I'm hearing in my head, the closest tone that I get from my favorite rig in a live situation or with actual amps. One of my biggest mistakes in the video that I'll link right here, which is my first sort of big hit video, which is my Line 6 HX STOMP versus the Kemper, it was that I approached the Line 6 HX STOMP like I would an amp, and I was boosting my levels too aggressively. I don't know, I was almost pushing the digital sound as if I were pushing tube amps, and I was getting this fizzy digital breakup, and it just wasn't what I was really after. Well, that is quite obvious, to be honest with you, because it's a digital product. So when I scaled everything back and I approached it a little more sensitively to the product itself and utilized the product for what it was good at, it changed everything, especially so when I incorporated the IR. Look, if you are new to my channel, then you're going to learn very quickly. I couldn't be a Line 6 HX STOMP user if they didn't allow us to input our own external IRs because I just wasn't vibing with the onboard cabinets there and speakers. That doesn't mean that if you're doing that, it doesn't sound good. It just means like I really wasn't vibing with it enough, especially in comparison to other products. Like at the time when I was using the Kemper. The Kemper was extremely good, is extremely good, and I was aggressively comparing them because I wanted to make a decision. I needed to make a decision. A lot of people don't know this, but I invested my own hard-earned money into both products, and I'll be honest with you, the Line 6 HX Stomp was a lot cheaper financially than the Kemper. So if I were going to sell one over the other, I wanted it to be the more expensive product to, knock down some of that debt that I had created in creating content for this YouTube channel. But inevitably, the reason why I went with the Line 6 HX Stomp was because I felt like using this method got me a tone that was super desirable, that was super on point in my opinion, and hopefully you agree as well. Most of all, the product was so much more versatile, and I guess I'm telling you this because I'm somewhat trying to wrap up this entire series of my current rig, my current setup here. I talked about pretty much everything that's on my pedal board, and I pretty much gave you A to Z now how I'm using the Line 6 HX Stomp. So it's important to me that you at least give it a shot, that you at least try it, because I know that when I gave it an honest effort, the experience was very pleasant, and it was a night and day experience from day one to today because I approached it differently. In the last year or two, I've recorded on more albums than I have in a really, really long time, and I've recorded everything, absolutely everything, using the Line 6 HX Stomp. It's been a really amazing product for me, and something that honestly took me by surprise. So this was the kind of product that I was looking for and desiring from major companies for years and years now. When I finally got it in my hands, I was worried that it wouldn't meet the needs, that it wouldn't meet my standards or my expectation, but it actually not only met it, it exceeded it, especially with the functionality. This thing does so much more than what I actually need it to do, or even what I use it for currently. So of course, it wouldn't be the J. Cruz Project channel if I didn't at least turn on some delays and reverb and let you listen to what this whole amp rig sounds like going through some luscious reverbs and delays. That about wraps up this video, pretty much wraps up this series. Now I do have some more stuff that I do want to talk about in terms of utilizing the HX Stomp. I got some great video ideas in some of the comments. People have asked me to do a full HX Stomp pedal board series where I don't use any external products. That's actually something I've tried in the past and wasn't very happy with, and that's why I never released the video, but I think I want to try it again. I think it's a great challenge, and I think it'll be cool to compare the rigs and the sounds and to see what we can get. If you've enjoyed this video and the rest of the videos within this series, please let me know in the comment section. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you want to give me some tips and tricks on how I can make things better, again, let me know in the comment section. One thing I want you to know is that I'm still learning. I'm still like really chasing after the tone, and if you have tips and tricks that'll help me get there, man, let me know. I'm really interested in it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video. Again, leave a comment below. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get an alert every single time I upload a video. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.